You're watching the North Carolina Players Show on Fan Media Network. If there's,
and Coach, when I look back on it, as you was talking about that, whoever your point guard is, if he has poise, I think it settles everyone else down. Derek Phelps had so much poise when during my junior and senior year. He didn't get rattled. He didn't rush it up the court. He was under control, and it calmed everyone else down. Perimeter players. I see our guys on this year's Tar Heel team. They catch the ball on the perimeter. They're not looking at the post. They just looking to pass it around the perimeter. They're not catching it with a pivot. They don't ball fake. All the things you say. And at this point, and some of those guys are upperclassmen. So if they don't know it by them being an upperclassman, what are we teaching our kids in high school, middle school basketball, instead of just throwing the ball out and just run up and down and go for yourself?
Well, I've had this conversation with many, many people. Youth basketball has gone to individual workouts. Not everybody, but there's a lot of trainers out there, and it's almost a status symbol that I've got a trainer. My son has a trainer. He's going to work on his game. So we're pretty good at individual skills, but we're not good at team skills. We're good at individual fundamentals, but we're not good at team fundamentals because we don't play 5-on-5 enough. We don't play 4-on-4 enough. We don't play 3-on-3 enough. And I hate to sound like the old man, but when I grew up, we'd go to the park, and if there were 6 guys, we'd play 3-on-3. If there are 5 guys, we'd play 2-on-2, and the guy sitting out had winners. And we would pass and cut, screen away, help side defense. We knew how to move without the ball. And a lot of times you're playing with different age groups. So the older guys would teach the younger guys.
Right,
and
exactly.
Nowadays, all the ball is either individual instruction or AAU, where you're playing with your own age group. You don't maybe have the best coaches in the world, and there's no peer-to-peer accountability, because very few guys are going to say, like you talked about the last 2 shows, grabbing a teammate by the shirt collar and saying, hey man, this ain't, don't do that anymore. Carolina or growing up, we had guys say, listen man, you want to play? You better set some screens and run back on defense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise you're not getting picked up. You're not helping the team win. Now guys can't hold each other accountable because everyone's got soft skin,
Right.
It's pal. Like if I said to you as a player nowadays, hey George, get your butt back on defense. Otherwise I'm not throwing you the damn ball. You pout, you go to the bench and you say, Dad, I want to play on another team.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or the dad say, well, I'm going to make my own team.
I'll make my own team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In the park, man, I don't know. Did you grow up playing ball in the park?
Oh, I grew up in the park. I got a crazy story. So I come home one day and I tell my stepfather, and now I'm like 12, 13. I'm playing with guys 18, 19, 20 in my park. And so my dad, I said, he said, what's wrong? I said, man, I don't like going to the park. He was like, why? He was like, well, the big guys don't let me shoot. He said, well, can you play defense? I was like, yes. He said, can you rebound? I said, yes, sir. He said, can you dribble? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, play defense, get the rebound, and push it up yourself. So I learned how to play all those things, but then I also learned when I got to be that 17, 16-year-old older kid, I didn't want to treat the younger kids that way. So I always made sure that I shared the ball. And he always told me, he said, if there's a guy in front of you, you always pass it up. Even if he gonna miss it. It's the coach's decision to take him out of the game for not making the right play. But you always make the right play. So that's why I had a lot of success. I played 12 years in the NBA. I played as a freshman at Carolina because Coach Smith knew I was gonna make the right play. Yep. And it carried me a long way.
You were blessed, George, to have a stepfather that would teach you those lessons.
Yeah.
And we all need people in our lives to, one, I call them being truth tellers. Will they tell you the truth?
Mm-hmm.
And you need that at a young age, because when you get a little older and you've been told you're the best all the time, and all of a sudden the first time you're told, hey, you're not that good.
Right.
It can really crush your spirit, because then you don't know how to figure out. So your dad taught you what a valuable lesson. I remember my dad, I was in 4th grade, signed me up for basketball camp, Gus Alfieri's All-American camp on Long Island. Mm-hmm. And my dad didn't play basketball growing up. He was a baseball player and a track athlete. And he bought me my first jock at Mescott Drugs.
Yeah.
And we get back into the car and he says, okay, Matthew, first of all, I didn't know what the heck a jock meant. This thing looked funky. Like, what do you do with this? How do you put this thing on? And he said, when a coach corrects you, do not say, I know. I'm like, wow. And I fast forward to when I had my son, I said the same thing to him. So my dad was basically teaching me to be coachable. Right. Don't act like a know-it-all. So I think back to when I was in 4th grade, I must have acted like I was a know-it-all to everybody. But he said, don't say I know. Just take the coaching and say thank you. And that wisdom, I was blessed with some great coaching. Bob McKillop was my high school coach my first 2 years, who's now the head coach at Davidson, and then Dick Zeitler. And so when I got to North Carolina, I too played a lot as a freshman and started my last 3 years. It wasn't that big. It sounds disrespectful, but it wasn't that big of a jump because I had intense practices. I had structured practices, and I was taught the fundamentals since I was in 4th grade. And I think a lot of times now these kids are taught maybe how to shoot and do ball handling drills, but they don't know how to play 5-on-5. They don't know how to pitch that ball ahead. They don't know how to take criticism from an older player in the park because they don't play in those settings anymore.
Right.
So they're not dealing with that. Yeah, it's something that I really think we need to get back to improve our game. And I think that's one of the reasons the European game is advanced, because Luka Doncic has been playing professional basketball since he's like 14.
Right.
Well, he's playing with older guys. So those older guys are teaching him. And he has to answer to those guys. He has to respond. So if they tell him, hey, Doncic, that's a bad shot, man. You shoot that again, you're never going to see the ball the rest of your season. He's going, oh, gosh, that means a lot more to him than the coach saying it.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not going home to your parents that are saying, hey, man, let's change teams. Like, that was the only club team. And they had your contract. They had your rights.
Right.
So.
To host a player show or appear as a player on a player show, simply create a profile on Fan Media's iOS app or website. Select your teams and make a short intro video on your phone. Show hosts, reporters, former players, and superfans can use our Get Verified feature and make an intro video as well, and our mobile newsroom staff will reach out.